به سینما رکس گوش میکنید. پادکست در مورد فیلم های ایرانی. اپیزود 37. پرویز سید سمد به مدرسه میرود.
سمد آقا.
سمد آقا.
Man, your Farsi is better now.
I'm dying.
My Farsi is always that good. I just never choose to speak it. But thank you. No, my Farsi is better than most people assume because they hear me say names when I read names in the podcast and I butcher them.
Yeah.
But in casual conversation, when I don't have to mention like 6-syllable names that I haven't heard before in my life, I butcher it under pressure.
The hard thing with names is a lot of times if they're names that we don't know, vowels, like there's only one.
The vowels don't,
yeah,
in English,
the
they
vowels
don't
can
translate.
be read different ways. Yeah.
It's Parviz Sayyad, right?
Yeah.
But it could also be like, if you've never heard that name before, it could be Sayyad.
Yeah.
Like Saye or something. Like you don't have the A that will tell you which A it is when you're reading it in English.
Yeah.
That's why I always screw up. You know what? That's good enough banter. درود بر شما دوستان عزیز. This is the Cinerex podcast where we discuss all things Iranian cinema, education, comedy, samad, learning, crimes, helicopters,
Country bumpkins.
I'm Kaveh Mohebi.
And I'm Farhan Moradi.
And I'm Agha Navid Agha.
Speaking of Samad Agha, we have our guest, second time being on the show, Agha Navid Agha, or as I like to call him, Navid Agha Navid, who doesn't go by a last name for professional reasons, or I guess he's worried about getting doxxed. But you might remember him from what, Farhan? Which episode?
Our first Hollywood Hits Job episode, Prince of Persia.
That's right. Welcome to the show again, Navid Agha Navid.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me. Great to be back on the show. Yeah. Great. Yeah. I'm bringing the energy today.
Kaveh and I have a soundboard in Discord that isn't getting picked up on the podcast, but we're spamming the applause sound.
I have my own soundboard too. Like you guys play your own thing, I'll play my own thing.
Well, we figured out what you were playing in the background when you asked us how loud the volume is of the stuff you're watching. You might recognize Agha Navid Agha from the highly popular Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Iranian sketch. I guess they call them sketch, right? Or what do they call little, like
yeah.
When they're like small TikTok-sized, bite-sized things, are they still called sketches?
Yeah,
I would say so,
yes.
yeah.
Little skit.
He's also an actor. Most recently, I don't know about recently, but I know you most popular, I guess, program was Children Ruin Everything. You had a cameo on that, that series has just ended.
And that was it.
And, well, no, you've got another thing. Didn't you have a second thing?
Yeah, Please After You.
Please After You. He's doing a bunch of short films.
You were in Tara Aghlash short.
That's true. I keep forgetting
That's right,
stuff.
cameo. Recognize. We pointed that out, actually, in the episode we did. We talked about you.
Yo, I'll be your agent, man. Hire me.
Shout out to the commercials I've been on.
Yeah.
Thanks to Planters Cashews.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
OLG Cash for Life.
Oh, you did an OLG Cash for Life.
Yeah,
Did they give you cash for life when you do the spot?
I wish. Yo, you know what's funny about Children Ruin Everything? I recently got a residual check.
Is it good?
It was $17.
That's good.
And I lost it.
I mean, you lost it.
I lost the check.
Where did you put it?
I don't know.
How did you?
I was looking for it for like 5 days. I had to clean my room after years. I still couldn't find it. $17, bro.
Thank you for supporting the Canadian film and television industry, because that $17 will probably stay with the production company until it's cashed out. And if you never cash it out, that's a $17 donation you've made to the Canadian.
You just paid for half a director's lunch.
Yeah.
Damn, yo, what?
Yeah.
Bro.
To clarify, half of the lunch, not half of a director.
A director? Oh, that's why I was like, do you have little directors? Is there like a guild of?
Yes.
I mean, I might qualify for half a director on that front.
What's new with you, other than I wanted to mention that you're also the co-host of the Politically Challenged podcast with your homie Ezra
Sholeh.
Tell me about that. So how many are you rivaling us? Are you doing better numbers than us?
Not at all. No.
I think you might be. You guys, because you got a video component too, which we don't have yet.
Farhan just took off his shirt, by the way.
As I mentioned, this is why we can't have a video segment. Farhan's undressing in the middle of
I'm recovering from the flu, so every like 3 seconds, I'm either getting chills or I'm getting really hot.
Damn, bro, I didn't know you had abs like that. I'm recording the video, so this is gonna be
this is going on his personal OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
As long as I get a $17 residual check, you can do whatever you want with the video.
Hey, Actra, if you're listening, Send me another check.
Kava, I'll give you half of the check. We can each get a
quarter
quarter
of
lunch.
Yeah. But tell me about the podcast. How did it come about? What's like? I mean, I think it's very funny, mostly because I'm a big fan of you and you doing malarkey.
Thank you, man.
But what's it like? What's the onus behind it? What's the modus operandi?
I don't know what that means, but I'll tell you what how it started is basically, well, we were writing a film with Ezra, right? So we were like Ezra and Divya, who is also on the show,
the producer.
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 So we were writing a film, and then we were like, hey, why don't we do a podcast? So we started a podcast, and it's kind of going very slow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys have like 37 episodes now?
Yeah, we started a year before you, though.
Yeah, but we only have 10 right now.
That's probably... How many episodes do you release a month?
Whoa. Half.
Oh, okay.
Also, bi-monthly?
Bi-monthly. No, the thing is, like, we were doing it we were doing bi-weekly, but then everything keeps having, like, everything goes on hold for a while.
Oh, you guys fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
off
consistency is one of the hardest things with podcasts because you get excited and then you're like, one of the things that me and Farn always talk about is the importance of making sure we release one episode every 2 weeks, no matter what, because I think no reason. Farn's just like a cat who's peed on the carpet looking away from the screen. He won't look at me.
Well, okay, I'm gonna, if I'm getting called out like this, I'm gonna flip it back on Kave. Because I have asked consistently for us to try to bank multiple episodes so that we have a larger runway. Because things come up, like you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like all of a sudden, I had like 3 deadlines hit me back to back to back and then got the flu.
Yeah.
So it's like, and we had like a week to release that one episode, which we recorded way before it was ready. So it's like, if I'm getting hit with this stuff now, there's no runway.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally no room for error.
Yeah.
But to Kava's defense, Kava likes to do a lot of research before we do the episode. So on his end, it's very front heavy because he's researching all the behind the scenes, the trivia, all that stuff.
True.
And on my end, it's very back heavy because I try to I'm a perfectionist and I try to mix the sound so it's really good. And we obviously don't record this in the same room as each other. So there's delays. So as much as I can, I try to tighten up the voice delays too.
Mm-hmm.
But
so you're back heavy.
I'm back heavy, Kava's front heavy.
Front heavy. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm both. I'm front heavy and back heavy.
I also noticed you've been in a few music videos or something recently. I like when you do this sort of Daily Show news anchor thing that you seem to do a few times. I've seen you do.
I don't know why everyone keeps hiring me to be a news anchor. I'm like,
yeah,
oh wait, is this the one where you're walking around and you start reporting on things that you see?
No. Yeah, go ahead. Explain.
There was one there was one with After Hill, my buddy. He's a rapper.
Yeah.
I was a news anchor on his music video, and then there's one with Putag, who's also a rapper and YouTuber. I was in his music video too, and I was a talk show host.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But this
it was good. You're very funny.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
It should become your backdoor pilot to being hosting your own late night show.
Yeah, exactly. Can we speak this into existence?
When Navid and I first met, that was one of the things that he had mentioned was something that he really wants to do. Is he wants to one day do his own late night show.
Yeah. I had a pitch and everything. I made a proposal.
Yeah. It'd be you'd sort of be doing a version of what's it called? Chan Shambe or Char Shambe or something?
Yeah. Chan Shambe Basina, yeah. But you would do it in English, right?
I was thinking Farsi, actually. I was thinking Farsi, but less sort of late night showy, more
Eric Andre
between something like that, or have you seen Norm Macdonald live?
Right, yeah.
Like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Something I realized we never asked you last time. Who are some of your favorite comedic influences?
Honestly, Norm Macdonald is the only one.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
I would have never guessed that. That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, man.
And then anyone else though?
I'm not really a big fan of comedy.
You're like a professional comedian.
Yeah, but I don't really like it.
So that really makes you professional.
It's kind of
Are you mad at the comedians?
I'm not a big fan of stand up.
Right, okay.
I mean, I do it, but I don't watch it or you know what I mean?
No, I don't even mean comedian as in stand-up comedian. I meant any Eric Andre type. Eric Andre doesn't really do stand-up, but he's sort of an entertainer.
Right. In my mind, when you say comedian, I think stand-up comedian. I think
Yeah.
because the real comedians are stand-up comedians to me.
True.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah, I'm not a real comedian.
What if they're a comedic actor and they did like one stand-up set and they bombed? Would you call them a comedian at that point?
No.
So not only do they have to do stand-up, but it has to go well.
It has to go well. Yeah, for multiple years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rob Michaels, but you're.
Oh no!
Whoa.
I'm joking. I've actually never
that-
seen Rob stand up. He could be really good.
I didn't know
I'm
he
sure
does
he's
stand up.
He's really funny.
Let's pivot. Speaking about comedians, why don't you first introduce the title of the film we're doing? Navid, Agha Navid.
Samad goes to school.
And then in Farsi, Kaveh, it's
Samad bin Madrasa miravad.
nice.
Aferin.
Well done. Points all around.
Thank you. And Farhan's a huge fan of this series. I'm curious, Navid. You are way more in touch with Iranian culture than I am, so I'm very curious about what your history is with Samad as a character, as a thing. Do you have? Did you grow up aware of him? Tell us a bit about you. And
Yeah,
Samad.
my mom is a big fan of Samad Agha.
Great.
Like growing up, we would watch the films and stuff, but I hadn't watched it in like 20 something years. You know, I used to watch it as a kid.
Yeah.
So this is like the first time after so many years watching it, and yeah, it's surprisingly like good for being an old film. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
Like 60 years old or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's some like proper jokes in there, and
When we asked Navid if he would come on the show, so aside from the Hollywood Hit Job episode, the movie that Navid picked, he was like, I want to do a Samad episode. And we were like, oh, that's funny. We're doing another one with someone already, with Payam. We were like, but we'll bring you on for the next one.
thank you guys. Respect for making this happen. But I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't like doing research.
That's fine. That's my job.
So yeah, take it away.
Great. Well, doing research on you specifically, I
Uh-oh.
actually was very curious as to how much of this you were like, because as I was watching this film and remembering a lot of the tropes about him, I was starting to think that it does seem in a way that you're quite influenced by him, because the Samad character is this buffoon, kind of like
Thank you, I guess.
dummy who, but no, not you, you the person, but you the character you play.
Yeah.
When you do your Agha Navid Agha Instagram stuff,
Mhm.
you often portray like a dumb, less intelligent sort of buffoon. And not only that, but he keeps going like, someone goes Samad and he's like Samad Agha, and he like keeps correcting people. And I was like, oh, you're like your joke, your little Instagram handle is a joke of saying Agha Navid or Navid Agha, but you're like, no, I'm Agha Navid Agha, which is kind of like an evolution of that play of like, oh, I want so much, like, I want to be treated with such respect, and I'm putting Agha twice in my name.
Yeah.
So I was like, is that like, that could have been seen as like a reference to Samad, even though I don't think you consciously thought of it that way. But is there, watching this film again, did you find some corollaries between like Samad being an earlier prototype of the character you do?
I
on
know,
Instagram?
dude. I was like, I thought about it yesterday. I was thinking, did I get my name from Samad Agha? I'm like, I probably did,
Yeah.
right? Unconsciously, I was like, all right, yeah, I got to do something like now Agha Navid Agha. Like,
Yeah.
I'm even better than that guy.
Yeah, it's two of us.
Agha.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like a stupid person, right, who thinks
Yeah.
they're important.
Yeah, I mean, that's Samad. Like, right?
By the time of this Samad movie compared to the last one we did, there's like a huge variety of characters who each have their own tropes and archetypes and styles. And in your videos, Navid, when you do the skits, I can identify how some of them might be influenced by different archetypes in the Samad movies. Like you have your like Sarkar character
Oh yeah.
in you remember the BDSM
Man.
one that you did?
Yeah, dude.
And then
That's
there's the
crazy.
guy there's the like second in command as well, who's like
Yeah.
also like that one guy. So it
And in the skit, like the police officer is wearing the exact same thing as the guy wears
yeah.
in the film.
Yeah.
Like my shirt that I
Yeah.
have. Oh my god, it's everything I do a copy of Samad?
but an evolution of it.
Yeah, it's an
because
homage.
you're doing it in a different medium. You're doing it much better quality. Like
That's crazy
like-
though. That's
and you're
crazy
doing
because-
something new with it. I hate it's always this conversation of like, what's the difference between an homage and like a plagiarism? And for me, it's like if you got like a spark of something from there and you like you took it and totally did your own thing with it, and you're telling your own story, you're taking it further. then it's just an homage, which is what I think you're doing.
Yeah, I think unconsciously I've been taking a lot of like inspiration from it, because when I was a kid, the only Farsi things that I watched was Samad
Yeah.
with my parents. Like the serious films and things, I wasn't into it. You know, I used to watch like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jackie Chan films.
Yeah.
So it was just that, but then like the Farsi stuff, it was more just Samad Agha.
But Parviz Sayyad would watch Bruce Lee films, obviously, and was like probably influenced by that because he does the Way of the Dragon movie too,
that's
right?
true.
Oh, that one's that's
So
my
it's like,
favorite one.
But it's really interesting because when we did the last episode on Samad with Payam, right?
Yeah.
We were like talking about what a Samad reboot would look like if they rebooted the film. And I don't think either of us mentioned it, but I feel like at this point, Navid, you'd probably be the no-brainer like character who should like take that mantle up if they ever did. Because they do this every now and then with like properties from the 50s and 60s. Like they've done a Three Stooges movie like not that long ago, 5 years ago, I think. They've done the Brady Bunch. They've done a bunch of old like TV properties and they like remake the movies for a new audience, for a new generation.
Yeah, I mean,
A new Samad with you in the lead?
dude.
You could get even Parviz Sayyad to direct it.
Oh,
Yeah.
snap.
Son of Samad.
Oh, that'd be good.
Bro, I am so down. But I look more like Uch Ali,
Which one is that?
the Uch looking guy. the big guy. They call him Uch Ali.
Oh, right.
You know what
the guy
Uch
who-
means?
Which Ali basically means fat alley.
Uch is
Yeah.
ram.
And Kava's like,
Uch-
which one's
Uch,
that?
I've never heard that term
It's
before.
a ram, like the
A
animal.
ram. Oh
Ram.
yeah.
So
Ram.
Uch Ali is
Ali the
So
ram.
I look more like him, or Sakor Ostovar actually.
Yeah, Sarkar Ostovar is a good one.
Maybe I can play all three characters.
Just
Well, yeah,
Eddie
'cause that's
Murphy
what you
style.
do anyways. That's
Eddie
your
Murphy.
style.
I don't
That's your
even
style
need to
in your
wear a
sketches.
fat suit.
You could play Layla too.
Yeah.
Put a little clip in your hair. That's Layla. Put one little hair clip in, and that's Layla. There you
done. We don't even need a budget.
go. Let me jump into plot summary, and then we'll just get an open discussion going. Samad goes to school, or Samad be madresi miravad. In the fourth installment in the Samad film franchise, Samad Goes to School is set in Samad's hometown, where a new literacy class is set up to teach reading and writing to illiterate villagers, and Samad eagerly joins as one of the students. Meanwhile, Sarkar Ostavar, a local officer, is pursuing a smuggling gang and manages to capture one of their members. Hoping to lure out the rest of the gang, he sends the captured smuggler to the literacy class as bait. However, when the gang shows up, Samad's antics unintentionally get in the way, leading to a series of hilarious misadventures. So I ask you, Agha Navid Agha, what did you think of Samad Goes to School?
I liked it. And Farhan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That's it? You don't want to say more than just I liked it?
I'm so good for podcasts, bro. Just like the best guest. I can talk.
These are my initial thoughts. I'll give you my thoughts and then interject if you have anything that you want to add to any of these. Yeah, as I mentioned, they started out with all the character archetypes in this one. Like immediately the movie starts, they're all running into school and you're like, okay, that's like the dancing druggie, that's the surly drunk, that's the jolly chubby one, that's the leader of the village idiots. Like everyone's got their own like shtick. And I love how there's just all these little bits of funny things that happen. Like you think the movie's headed one way and then all of a sudden there's like a shootout outside and the kids are all like, yo, they're filming a movie. Everybody's school's out. And they like rush outside and pretend to like be in a shootout. Meanwhile, there's like an actual shootout going on around them. The writing in this one I found is so much wittier and the exchanges are so much faster. There's constant back and forth jokes in this one compared to the last one that we reviewed. Kava, did you find that? That it was like quicker and wittier?
Maybe.
Oh,
I don't think
okay, I'm
Kava
excited
likes
to hear
it. Oh,
yeah, I don't think so.
no. Well, I mean, he is a writer, so he's thinking I could do much better. You know what I mean? He definitely can because it's a 60-year-old film.
Probably.
You know what I mean? They didn't have comedy back then. But the film, I like it because it's not a complicated plot.
Yeah.
It's mostly about the dialogue and stupid stuff happening.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. I like stupid things and stupid dialogues.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of it.
I did find that the storyline with the like shootout that happens and the smugglers and all that stuff doesn't tie into the storyline at the school very well. Like it's almost like two completely different stories. And I was less interested in the like arguably more exciting story, like the story with the the druggies and the shooters and whatever. I didn't care about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like there were no real stakes there. It didn't tie into the rest of the plot. Even when there was like the hostage situation, I was like, oh, this movie's boring now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had way more fun with the movie when it was just like watching the antics of these villagers in school, like fighting with each other, getting into arguments, or all the stuff with like Einullah Bakarzade's dad, like between him and his dad. And like every time they're talking to people, they're just like showering them with an unreasonable amount of compliments and titles. Like they'll be like, Mr. Honorable Principal of the highest esteem in His Majesty, would you please be so kind as to bring in my lovely, wonderful son of notoriety and positive reputation into your school?
Yeah.
Like all these little quirks, funny bits, like all that stuff to me was so entertaining. And that was the stuff that really captured my attention.
Agreed.
I definitely agree with you that I found the moments with the school more interesting. Almost so that I found myself with the scenes with the hostage and the criminals, I found really difficult to stay engaged in the storyline.
Yeah.
I really liked the tomfoolery and the malarkey that was going on with Samad. You know, anytime he was like given any sense of authority, like there's a moment where he has to sort of run the class for a bit.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, those moments were pretty good. One of my biggest problems, and you're going to find this shocking, this is my second time watching a Samad movie ever, and the first one was the very first Samad film, Suleiman and the Holy Rug.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what it was called?
Well, Samad and the Rug of Suleiman.
Yeah. So I liked that film more than this one.
What?
I found the story very repetitive this time around. It felt like the same story, like very from the plot points as the Suleiman Rug storyline. It almost felt like a location swap version of that same story, down to the point where they used a lot of the same jokes again, which I like the jokes. Like there's a scene towards the end when he has to explain how he was able to overhear the crime, and he's like, well, I was looking under the table looking at the teacher's legs, and like Layla's in the room. He doesn't want Layla to know that he was like looking at her legs, so he's like trying to like dance around giving information while Layla's there. Very funny scene, but it's like an exact recreation of the scene from the last movie where he's telling Layla how he saw a woman changing in the trees, and like he's trying to, and we talked about this at length
we did
that episode. And so I found this one weirdly confusing too. Like I found the beats of what the crime was actually trying to do, like I kept getting lost in it. And I partially it's because my Farsi's not the best. They're speaking with like accents that aren't noticeably recognizably clear to me. And the quality of the movie is like not great for even audio.
Yeah.
So at times I was like having to rewind to try to catch what they were saying. And here's something I want you to clarify for me. What is it that those three men are talking about early in the film? It's the principal and a guy that looked like, it wasn't the Kadkhoda, but it was like someone like of authority. It seemed like there was like a plan going on with the three men that I could not follow what was going on early on. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Einullah's father?
Bakarzadeh.
I think so.
Bakarzadeh.
Yeah. So what was that? Do you remember what they were discussing?
Yeah, so the father wants Einullah.
Bakarzadeh.
That's a weird name, bro, by the way.
I know.
Well, saying it in English. Einullah.
Bakarzadeh.
Yeah, I gotta be careful. Einullah Bakarzadeh. The dad wants to get him out of a house and like get him either a job or something. So it starts out from the dad wanting him to be a teacher.
No, first he wants him to be the principal.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. The Einullah is like, let me be the
Bakarzadeh.
principal. Yeah, Bakarzadeh. So he wants to be the principal. And then they go to the school. They're like, all right, let him be the teacher because he studied 2 years in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So he's cool. But then they end up,
and then he's like, okay, fine, let him be the vice principal. It's like, we already have a vice principal.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, let him be the teacher. He's like, we already have a teacher. He's like, what about the custodian? He's like, no, we don't need a custodian.
And he's like, put him in grade 5 or whatever. It's like grade 7, I think. And then he's like,
It's like grade 8. He's like, we don't even have a grade 8. Yeah.
So it just goes down from there,
So all of that was just to get him in the school.
Yeah.
Those scenes.
basically.
Okay. Yeah. That's the other thing too. I'd like to know your thoughts now from a comedic standpoint. Is I thought that sometimes the even the stupid stuff which I liked, like even the little comedic set pieces, would drag on very long.
Yeah.
Like they'd continue after scene after scene. The whole Einullah Samad fight scene and principal discussion scene goes on for way too long, I thought, and doesn't like.
Oh, I love that scene.
Yeah, but it's like 3 or 4 different scenes of them still fighting, and then
I was
going
like
to the principal's office.
hyperventilating from laughter.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, bro, hyperventilating from laughter. I didn't find it that.
I couldn't wait for that scene to be over.
It might have been the flu, to be honest.
True. Or you were like high on NyQuil and codeine.
There was the few times that I'll get to later on that there's a few moments that, despite my mood when watching this movie, because I lost my patience really quickly, I found myself laughing at lines that he would say. Like one of them was real, like what early on, despite myself, when there's a criminal who's running from the cops, and he runs into Samad, and Samad Agha is like, "I'm not gonna tell them you're here," and the cops are looking for him, and he's like. So the man goes hiding in a tube, and he yells out to the cops, "Hey!" They genuinely saying to them, "There's no man in the tube. Don't look in the tube. There's no man in the tube." And the cops realize that means there's a man in the tube, so they grab him. Samad's not calling him out. Samad's deliberately being like, "The best thing I can do for this guy is to tell the cops to not look in this tube."
Yeah.
Found a loophole. For
And the cops were already on their way out. They're like,
yeah,
maybe
they were
we should ask
leaving,
Samad.
yeah.
They're like, you can't trust anything he says, and they're leaving.
Yeah.
And then he earnestly, when the guy looks back at Samad, like pissed, Samad's like, "Sorry, man, I did the best I could."
Yeah, I tried really hard. Yeah. So then I guess to like wrap up the plot is basically they catch this guy, and whose plan was it to leave him at the school to wait for the other guys to come?
Sarkar Ostovar wanted him to go to school so he could learn how to write all his crimes.
Yeah, because they're like,
okay,
they assumed he was mute.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Oh, he's mute. That's why he's not speaking to us. And he doesn't know how to read and write when they give him a pen." So they're like, "We need to send him to school so he can become literate. And then he can write out his confession and like tell us who his accomplices are."
And then a group of other robbers come to like find him, but then they also like they show up at the school posing as students.
Yeah, so the
Right?
teacher goes to the school after the robber is enrolled. So that the lady who is with the bad guys.
The robbers, yeah.
Yeah. So she just shows up because they need a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the VP was like, "I've had it with these students. I'm not teaching them."
And apparently
So they're like,
it's-
"We need to get a teacher."
It's that easy to just show up and be like, "I'm a teacher." So she becomes the teacher, and then 2 more bad guys show up as students. And
Now, are those bad guys part of his team though?
And they're associates.
They're other associates?
Yeah, because I think it was like, I think the guy who got caught was like the drug mule.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 guys are henchmen for the boss that hired the
big
drug
bad
mule.
the one-eyed
Yeah.
helicopter guy.
I like that boss a lot. I really like the boss. He's like the most charismatic character I'd seen in an Iranian movie in a while. With the eye patch.
Yeah, the
he's,
iPad.
He's the father of like a famous Iranian singer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what was the name? It was like one of those
The
old
Layla's dad?
Layla Furuhat or something.
Yeah, is it her dad?
I think so, right? Yeah, my mama told me.
Did you watch it with your mom?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah.
Oh, what was your mom really into it? Was she laughing?
Yeah, my mom was laughing. Yeah, for sure, because she loves it. Like that's what she grew up watching.
Yeah.
Like that's the things that they had, and yeah, I traveled all the way upstairs to watch it with my mom.
That's cute.
Yeah.
It's nice of you to make the pilgrimage.
Yeah, man, it was difficult.
I also really like the scene too when he's like doing his homework late at night and keeping everyone in the town village awake.
Ay,
He's being
dad,
too loud. yeah. That, I mean, despite the fact that it gets old after a while, but and then like the cop like gets mad at him, so he draws all over. Like he like makes lines all over his homework.
Sakar Ostovar wakes up and he's pissed and he's like, "What the hell is all that ruckus?" And then the next in command is like, "Samad's doing his homework again." And then he's like, "First thing in the morning, I want you to go there on Samad's way to school and vandalize his homework."
Yeah. And so after he does that, he's like, "Why are you writing all over my notebook?" He's like, "Well, that'll teach you to stay up all night screaming and talking so loud." And then he's like, "Well, now that you've written all over my notebook, you might as well give me a grade too."
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like genuinely saying that. Like that stuff was really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's I don't know why I was so much more engaged the first time, and I don't know if it was because I'd never seen a Samad movie before, but I also thought the plot worked a little bit better. Even though it was longer, it was
Yeah.
really long.
No, it was only an hour and a half.
No, the first one was longer.
Oh, yeah.
First one was over 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious as to where does this rank for you? Let's start with Navi. Like, do you remember like where this ranks for you for all the Samad movies you've seen? Is it one of your more favorite ones, or like middle of the pack?
I honestly don't remember the like most of the other ones, and
Yeah.
I haven't done my research to be able to speak about it, which is unprofessional. But then whatever. But yeah, in terms of like the quality of the film, I think when I was a kid and watching the film, I remember it being more funny because I didn't have like the expectations of like, you know, today's films.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it as, all right, this is a 60-year-old film. In terms of that, I like it.
Yeah.
But if you're talking generally, it only has a few good things about it, right? Like the plot isn't the most clear thing. Stuff happens at weird times. You're like, what? It was very convenient for like the teacher to just show up, things like that. But being an old ass film, it wasn't bad, guys. I'm just trying.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
I like it. I think it's really funny.
It's fine to like everything should be contextualized from the time period that it came in. Like you don't need to compare a 70s movie to like something that came out last year or 5 years ago. But I guess one of the questions I want to ask you, Farhan, is in these films, because I haven't seen other Parviz Sayyad films after this, but in these films, would you say Parviz Sayyad, forget the performance he plays as an actor.
Okay.
Is Parviz Sayyad a good writer-director?
I think so.
Okay.
But I think that, okay, here's the thing. We also haven't seen Parviz's more artistic films either. Because
I just said that. I was despite those, disregard those because we haven't seen them.
Yeah.
In these films.
I mean, here's the thing. Parviz Sayyad will tell you himself that he doesn't like the Samad movies, like from an artistic standpoint.
Okay.
Like he says himself that they're not very good, like pieces of art. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he gets like kind of bitter apparently if you're in the film scene and you only talk to him about the Samad stuff, he gets a little upset.
Oh shit.
Because he has like a whole other catalog of more artsy films. The Samad films are very much inspired by the French New Wave comedies and the Belgian comedies and stuff that him and Ghafari were really into, right? Like back in the day. But I think that what these movies show really well is that he's able to build comedic scenes. And this movie is like a series of little comedic bits, like little skits, similar to like
vignettes.
Navid's, little vignettes, like similar to Navid's like Instagram videos. It's like a series of those stitched together. The problem is that when they're stitched together like this, sometimes his movies don't have a very good through line that stitches everything together. I found that the other one, the Soleiman's Rug, everything was stitched together better, but the pacing was not as good and it was slower and it wasn't as witty and the characters weren't as fleshed out. Here, the pacing's better, it's funnier, it's wittier, the like bits are better, the characters are better, but it's not stitched together very well. Which is why like this one still isn't my favorite. I definitely put this one above. This is kind of middle of the road for me in terms of the Samad movies. My favorite one is probably the last one that we'll do is the Bruce Lee one.
I can't wait for that one. I'll take a break and you can do it with someone else.
No, I remember that
wants
one.
to do that one.
I remember.
What my question is, why is this one a better film than the first one we watched, in your opinion? Which is the Soleiman.
I think because it's more fun.
Interesting.
I think the comedy's better. I think I care about the characters a lot more. Similar to with City of Mice, Shahramusha, where all these different characters have their own little idiosyncrasies. That to me makes the world feel much more alive and much more real. Like, oh, this is a real village somewhere. Like you're seeing all these characters with unique traits and seeing them go through their like daily life at this school. And I had fun with that.
But I feel like the Suleiman Rug one had a better villain. It was that actor who was
Yeah, he's in Downpour.
It had Manucher Farid as the villain.
Yeah.
Which just like that actor, I mean, stronger actor, real villain role, kind of like has a guy who's, even though he's not directly interacting with Samad, he's like, there's a foil to that.
Yeah.
There's a counterbalance. And I feel like putting Samad in a situation where there's going to be constantly foil, like, I guess, is the foil his, Enolog? Is it him? That's the foil? Like, who's like the villain in this story?
Yeah, that's the foil.
Wasn't much of a foil.
I mean, he's not a villain, but that's his foil.
Yeah, but I just feel like unlike the Solomon Rugg story with Samad, this could have used. I feel like this was just a weaker, like from a writing standpoint, story.
Yeah.
The rug was a better story. It was like a heist story.
Yeah.
He's caught up in something he doesn't know. This, it's almost like you said. There's the school scenes and the hostage scenes, and they kind of don't really mesh that well. Like they don't really. It almost seems like two different films that someone edited together.
Yeah.
But for the Enola, you gotta know that's Samad Agha's adversary because Enola likes Layla.
Yeah. They both have a love. Yeah.
And he thinks he's like top shit because he's been to the city.
Yeah, exactly.
Him and his like stupid giant tie.
Yeah, he does. That is.
It's so stupid, but I found it funny.
Yeah,
I love in the first movie when he like comes back from the city, like when he crawls out of the like manure pile, he's like, "Yeah, I even got this from the city." He's like showing off his stupid tie.
Yeah, that's in the first one. That's his origin story,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because Bakarzadeh,
yeah.
Is that where he's from? Why does he keep adding that? Because isn't that like where he gets his name from?
Yeah, at the city they give him the name.
Bakarzadeh.
Throughout the whole film, the tall guy keeps telling everyone to be careful of his jacket.
Borjali.
And when he comes into class,
Borjali,
yeah. And when he comes into class, Samad's like, "Oh, that's Borjali. He really loves his jacket." Like that's like how he introduces him. And then he goes and sits down. Samad and Bakarzadeh, they get into a fight, and he's like, "Be careful of my jacket," whatever. Yeah. And then finally, when there's the whole argument of like, what is a snake? The word snake written out, or the drawing of the snake, and all the villagers are like, "No, the drawing, like that's a snake."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Clearly this guy's never seen a snake before. Borjali, show him a snake." And then he pulls a snake out of his jacket. So you find out this whole time this guy's been keeping snakes in his jacket.
That's his job. He gathers
he's
snakes
a snake
and
collector.
sells them.
Yeah.
And at the end, when they're at the helicopter, he also says it too. He's like, "Be careful of my jacket." So it's the whole thing.
That same guy, I like when the teacher runs away. He goes up the tree, and they're trying to get him to come down, and the vice principal is like, cry like you're a baby, make him sympathetic. So he's like pretending to cry. And he's like, "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I showed you a snake." He's like, cry harder for him. He's like, "I'm sorry. I'd rather get crushed by a truck's tires than show you another snake."
Yeah.
See, these little stupid things. I love it, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, dumb. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to follow anything. I don't like using my brain.
A lot of Abbott and Costello type humor.
But that's the problem with this is I feel like they tried to insert a storyline you have to follow. And it doesn't mesh well.
Yeah, maybe.
One of the things I really like about Samad too, I mentioned this last podcast, is his whole thing of like using fingers as like his weapons.
Yeah.
And like he's gonna poke someone's eye out. That's his like threat. So when he's like playing the role of teacher, he's sitting there on the table with both his fingers out, like guns, like pistols. Like he's like, if you act up, I'm gonna poke you. Why was he teacher, by the way? Why was he assigned to be temporary teacher? Because they didn't have one?
He was mopser.
What's that mean?
So even if they have a teacher, he's like the leader of the class.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the prefect.
Okay.
So if the teacher steps out to go to the bathroom or whatever, it's someone to just like keep everybody in check.
My last two notes, and I'm sure you want to touch on this maybe later on, Farm, but the hilarious non-authorized use of music.
Yeah.
The popcorn song. Remember that one? Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah,
beep, 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 beep.
I didn't realize how old that song was.
I didn't either. I thought that was way more recent.
Yeah, I was like, did someone re-edit this into this?
Is that possible maybe actually even? I don't know.
No, it's from the 60s.
Oh, interesting. And then the Mission Impossible theme too.
Yeah.
The final action scene.
Yeah.
They're just stealing the Mission Impossible theme.
And the Bruce Lee one, it's like wall-to-wall theme songs from Enter the Dragon, Way of the Dragon, like Chinese Connection, like it's all of it.
And then the movie just ends at breakneck speed. After literally he just like fires a gun, they all fall over, and then it like stops midway through. Like, oh, the movie's ending? Like that's it?
Yeah.
There's no
denouement.
Slow down, denouement. It's just kind of like nothing. There you go.
One last thing. Every time I watch a Samad movie, I'm reminded of little inside jokes in my family that we get from these different Samad movies. In harfa dige faide nadare, which is like from this Samad movie.
Was it?
Yeah. Like in in like a sing-songy way.
Behind the scenes and trivia. In the Iranian Sarkar Ostavar television series, there was a naive country boy character without a name played by Parviz Sayyad. On the show, the country boy was frequently arrested for his ignorance. After a poll done by National Iranian Television, NITV, the TV series rated popular, and people were also asking why the country boy was no longer in the series. After which, Sayyad wrote a screenplay based on that country boy character and named him Samad. And from there on, went on to make 11 films, of which this is the fourth one. He was in a character in 3 TV series, the first being the Sarkar Ostavar show, and 4 theatrical productions, which he did in the 90s and late 80s, post-Islamic Revolution, once he left Iran. So he played the Samad character in 4 plays. I'd mentioned most of those facts last time, but it's just a refresher. And if you want more details about Parviz Sayyad and his history and biography, you can listen to that first Samad episode where we covered a lot of it.
Yeah.
That's it from me, Lauren.
The only other BTS I have is just some of the songs that were in the film. Joie de Vivre by Jackie Gleason, Popcorn by Gershon Kingsley, the Mission Impossible song. The thing is, Iran wasn't a signatory of this thing called the Berne Convention, which is an international copyright treaty. It wasn't during the time of the Shah, and it still isn't now. So any music that is produced, pretty much Iran doesn't care about copyright, with the exception of copyright within Iran itself, and it's only enforceable within Iran. So international songs were constantly covered, resampled, used in movies and songs and stuff in Iran. But now, funny enough, a lot of hip hop artists are sampling old Iranian songs and doing the same thing, because it's all public domain out here too. So it's a lot of that cultural exchange, I guess. One other little tidbit, there's a moment in the movie, this might be the first time they do it. They might have done it in the other one too, but in all of these Samad movies, there's usually a moment in the climax where Samad yells, Hamle, which is attack, and it's always Hamlet or something, and in this one it's Hamle be helicopter, which is everybody attack the helicopter, but he's mispronouncing it. Anyway, that's all I got.
You know the copyright thing?
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Do you think because it hasn't been giving credit, the right kind of credit to the right people, hasn't been in our culture, that it's still lacking, sort of? Because I see a lot of people either copying other people without giving them credit, or using videos or music without the proper copyright and things like that in the Iranian scene, sort of, even online or anywhere. And is it a cultural thing because it hasn't been set from back in the day?
That's my suspicion, is that because we've been such a artistic culture for thousands of years, that art, it belongs to the masses. Once you produce art, it's for everybody. And so people will iterate on each other's work as they go on. That's why there's so many folk songs that no one knows who came up with the original version of the song in Iran. There's tons of them. Everybody knows these songs. No one knows who made them. Or even if you look at classical Iranian music, there's no, you're not sitting there with music sheets. Now, you can learn that, but that's not how people played. You would just learn it and you would iterate. You would just take it and add your own spin to it. And I think that was kind of how art was treated, but I don't know. I've wondered the same.
I still don't quite understand how that rule works. If I make a movie in Iran and I put a Pharrell song in it and it goes to TIFF and I start selling movies, how is Pharrell not able to sue me?
No, you can't sell it. You can't sell it internationally.
So
you would have to option the rights from Pharrell.
So I can release it in Iran
if the Iranian government allows you to.
Oh, so it's just within its own country. It's not
or any country that is not a signatory of the Berne Convention. I mean, you raise a valid point. All these Samad movies that have been released by Parse Video, I bet you if the people who hold the rights to these songs saw that Parse Video was releasing these, they'd probably slap them with hefty lawsuits. Well, I can give you a real world example. Once Upon a Time in America, the original version has never been released because the original version was cut using music that they didn't have the rights to. Mm-hmm. And so apparently for the last 30 years, Scorsese has been trying to untie the rights to the music that was used in the original cut, which was played at, I think it was played at TIFF, so that he can release the original cut or help restore the original cut. But that's an example of something that the version that was released in a festival has never seen wide release specifically because of that reason, because international copyright laws won't allow it.
critical reactions. This film has 0 Rotten Tomatoes score. It doesn't even have an entry. Like no Samad film has an entry in Rotten Tomatoes. They just like didn't get a critical review of any kind. But obviously, maybe Farin, you want to talk, or Navi, you want to talk about how this film was received at its time, because obviously, this being the 4th of, they made 7 more Samad films after this, so obviously this was hugely popular in Iran.
Or maybe it wasn't even important back then, because the people in charge, they're like, we like it. Samad Agha himself is like, let's make more films.
Yeah,
I don't know. Was it a huge deal? Because back then, I don't know, they didn't have the right, like, proper numbers of how many people saw it and things like that. I'm assuming.
No, I think they did. They did. They had figures. I have a book that has box office figures for every movie going back from 1905.
God damn.
My understanding is that it was like ridiculously successful, and each one of them was a smash hit. And that's why Sayyad started to get bitter, is because he would release one of these and use the profits from this to fund an artistic movie next. And then his artistic movie would like bomb at the box office. Not because it was a bad movie, but just because no one was like going to see his more artsy films. And then he would do another Samad movie, and then it would do really well. And so he started to get upset because he's like, what the hell?
That's a tale as old as time, too, because Jerry Lewis, for the longest time, ended up being like the comedic guy to Dean Martin. And he'd play like very Jerry Lewis slapsticky characters. The second he made a serious movie, nobody wanted to watch it, or it did
right.
And he was very bitter about that. And he made the movie called The Day the Clown Cried, which is about a clown in a Holocaust that has never seen the light of day. Like literally nobody's ever seen it, because he like saw the final cut and was like, this movie's terrible. I'm not like letting it be released. So it's like in a vault somewhere. Kramer from like Seinfeld never was able to come out of that Kramer role. Like he couldn't be in any other project, because they're like, just be Kramer. We want to see Kramer. And he's like, I don't want that to be my career and legacy. Sadly, he has a different legacy now.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that's a tale all the time. These comedic actors who want to make that serious pivot and they just can't get out of it. Which is why, Navid, whenever you try to do your Oscar by playing that serious dramatic role,
maybe I won't do a clown in a Holocaust. Maybe I'll stay away from that.
Also, don't go on stage and start yelling racial.
I gotta remember that.
Yeah. So move on from critical reaction.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about how it was released?
I have no official numbers, but like everyone in our parents' generation who you talk to about Samad, they all know what it is and they've all seen them.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's a Samad movie that Parviz Sayyad didn't direct.
What?
Yeah, the second Samad movie was written and directed by Jalal Moghaddam, and that one also stars Farrokh Ghafari.
How different is that one? Which one was that? What's the name of that one?
I've never heard of this one before. Samad and Fulad Zere the Ogre?
Yo, what?
I don't know. It's written in English letters, so I can't. Let me see if I can find it in Farsi.
Samado Fulad Zarre Div?
And the guy who directed it is also one of the stars of, what was it, Hamoon? Yeah, he's also in Hamoon. It's like weird, like to think about how all these like filmmakers were in each other's movies. You know what I mean? Farrokh Ghafari was also starring in it as a doctor. And Ghafari and Sayyad together were the two who started the Iranian Cinema Society.
Was it because it was like such a small group back in the day? They're like, let's help each other out.
Yeah, that was exactly it. My understanding is that Ghafari went to Belgium, studied film, came back to Iran, and right around this time, The House is Black had come out. So House is Black came out, everybody was like, whoa, this is like artistically super sound. Ghafari comes out with Night of the Hunchback, and the year after, Golestan comes out with a movie as well. And that kind of launched the beginnings of the new wave movement, or it laid the groundwork for it. So the first few movies that you saw coming out of Iran after that point were these French new wave comedic, farcical inspired stuff. So you had like the Samad movies, Night of the Hunchback, Downpour, like these farcical comedic type of movies. Then you started to get the more revolutionary stuff like the deer or the cow or Hamoun and Ghaisa.
All the animal ones.
Yeah.
So this is from 1973 in the Book of Cinema in Iran. This is like a statistical book I've got.
Mm-hmm.
It says, from 1973, 85 locally produced feature films were released in 1973 against some 500 foreign films that were dubbed in Persian. And then talks about which ones were like box office bombs, which ones were. It goes, a box office success of this year's films was Samad be Madrasi Miravad. Samad goes to school. a feature film based on the story of Sarkar Ostavar, a popular television series, blah, blah, blah. Parviz Sayyad wrote and directed the film, which made over 22 million rials, which came to about $314,000 in its first release.
314,000?
Yeah, $314,000.
In, what was that, 1973?
22 million real?
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was massive box office success. And
Yeah, that's about 3.5 million today, Canadian. Oh, man. Guess how much that is in reals
now or then?
now? Take a guess.
Billions.
Navid?
Trillions.
Trillions. $93 trillion. Or sorry, trillion real.
Deeper analysis. Now, here's where I'm most disappointed. Because I actually thought with what Parviz Sayyad was doing in his previous films with his characters, was there was some sort of commentary about classism and how it divides and how poor people are overlooked. And there's still some of that. You know how like Bakhrazadeh comes from the big city, so he's got this air of arrogance against these small bumpkins.
Yeah.
And maybe some of that's still there. But I actually thought, I was like going into this film being like, oh, I'm going to probably find something to think about saying about the school system. What was happening in Iran in 1973. There's a lot of stuff, criticism. No, but like even to a certain degree, you're shaking your head. This is why I'm responding, because podcast listeners want to know that Farhan is shaking his head. But I thought that Parviz Sayyad was a guy who clearly was using this character to make some commentary. Like that's what good satire does. You're talking about something on the political level.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was like, why? I was like, wasn't there an opportunity to talk about the school system? Like I know the Deer talks about how the white revolution had affected a lot of disenfranchised youth to become drug addicts and stuff. And I was thinking there was a chance there would be some criticism about how the schooling system is failing. Maybe the illiterate adults in the community or the young students. But there wasn't any of that. And I thought maybe there was an opportunity to showcase a bit of that. Maybe there wasn't. It just went over my head. But I don't have a deeper analysis. But my deeper analysis was I wish the film actually took an opportunity to actually, punch up. If Samad's role is to punch up to like higher levels of authority, why didn't he do that against the schooling system that was maybe failing students at that time?
I think the schooling system was actually like getting better at that time, right? Because the
especially
Shah,
in rural communities.
yeah, because the Shah started these schools for adults. They're like, what was the name? Akaber, right? School became mandatory for kids.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
And the Shah was like, all right, well, the parents are illiterate, so we're gonna teach the parents of these kids too. So they open up the Akabers where the adults went to school. So in the movie, you see how at first they're like, your kids are better than you guys.
Yeah.
But the vice principal is saying about their kids. So it's basically, so their kids go to the regular school and they go to this Akaber. So I think because it was an actual improvement in the schooling system, there
wasn't a need to satirize anything.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of the criticisms with the white revolution in school, I think a lot of that was more in
rural.
No, I think the criticism was more in the cities.
Oh.
Because the cities all of a sudden became like packed and like class sizes were way bigger, and it was like there was all these other problems going on with like drug use and all this stuff, you know what I mean? Whereas rural communities were finally starting to get schools.
Yeah, so then maybe you could set it in a city and make it like he's in a very packed classroom. He's being forced to move in. I don't know. It's just a question.
Like they all get forced to move to the city or something.
Or maybe they have something about Ainullah, like how he left the city because he's about how he studied only 2 years in the city and like went back. If they had something like that, but then they would have to film in the city.
Well, there is another one called Samad Goes to the City. So that is the plot of another movie.
Oh God, they just
is that the
anything.
one? Is that the one? I remember this like vividly. One scene from one of the movies is when he is having sex.
Oh, I don't remember this.
It's under a blanket.
Oh, that's Samad
has sex.
That one's either Samad artist mishavad or Samad becomes an actor.
Yeah,
Samad sex mikone.
Or it's Samad Layla and Layli.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be that one.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, because I remember that. I was like,
I think it's artist mishavad, to be honest, and I think it's him and the the like actress lady at the end of the movie.
Dude, I remember watching it with the family, and I'm like, what's going on there? What are they doing? And then afterwards in the film, Samat, he's like, he goes to the doctor. The doctor is like, what's going on? Samat's like, musuze, musuze.
Burns?
So it burns. Yeah. So, and then the whole time I'm like, what the hell is going on? My parents are like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And then years later, I was like, oh, Samat got crabs or something.
Samat gets crabs.
Samat has STDs, bro. It was ahead of his time. One thing, you know what I like about, I know the whole finger thing isn't like, you know, it's cool here and there, but the thing that he does is different ways of sharpening it.
Yeah.
That keeps it fresh.
Yeah.
It's like this, finger to finger rubbing it like it's knives, or like a pencil sharpener.
Yeah.
Like he puts his finger in his other hand and he like rotates
it,
like sharpening it. So
there's one scene where he takes a rock or something and he's like, pushing it up against his finger. Yeah, I think that's in the one that we watched. The other one.
That keeps it fresh. Because if he's just like this and he keeps poking people, that gets old for 11 films.
Yeah.
Yeah. 11 films. Not 2 or 3.
11.
Best scene. I liked the snake drawing scene. I thought it was very classic and in a way like almost universal. Like that joke could be told in many other languages and almost understood without understanding Farsi, which clearly I had trouble understanding throughout the whole film. But I like that scene. Visual. It was a visual joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My favorite scene is Kaveh's least favorite scene.
I don't even remember what that was.
Samad Agha and Einullah Bagarzadeh getting into a fight, and then it ends with them being reprimanded by the principal and the vice principal.
Right, yeah.
They're back and forth in that scene. I find is like peak Samad Agha, Einullah Bagarzadeh humor, where they're just like back and forth. And I think there's got to be so much improvisation in that scene for them to be going back and forth that fast and not breaking character. Like it's impressive, and I think it's really funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My favorite scene, I think, and I'm not advocating for this type of behavior, okay, is when they look down at the teacher's legs. That was like back in the day, that was classic amongst the youths. But like when you watch the film, you're like, oh, whoa. What if we had women teachers? But yeah, it's kind of funny when like they keep dropping they're like, what's going on?
Pencils?
Like, we keep dropping our pencils. Like everyone keeps dropping the pencils to go down there. That was cool. That was okay. But I don't advocate that. That's a terrible thing to do. It's horrible.
Agha Navid doesn't recommend doing it, but it's funny from the time period. It's very Porky's, which I like. There's like a Porky's joke. American Pie-esque.
Yeah, and anytime basically like he's being the mopser in the class, he's running the class.
Yeah,
I find it funny. Like he's exerting his dominance or whatever. He's that's the authority he has. That's the only thing he has basically in life. It's that and Layla.
Yeah.
So he takes it very seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, does Layla love him back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does.
Yeah.
Actually, in the 2 movies I've seen, he's constantly pining after her, but we don't see whether or not she like really loves him back.
No, she like immediately ran over to help him.
Yeah, like they could be friends. They
lost.
could be like friends. I just, she could care about him. My question is, does she love him?
I think she does.
I think she loves him.
And they were doing things in the woods.
That's why she gets jealous when he mentions that he saw the teacher's legs.
Right, yeah.
I just realized there's a lot of like sexual things in Samad movies.
Yeah.
Like the legs thing, and then they were doing stuff in the woods too. At the beginning when the cat Hoda finds them.
Yeah.
They're behind the tree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're doing he's like, oh, Samad wanted to show me his homework.
Yeah. Damn, that's poetry, where we discuss our favorite lines from the film.
You know, my favorite line, my favorite joke was when they were doing the dictation thing in the hallway.
Yeah.
And they're saying, that man arrived. That man went.
Yeah.
And it's like, Samad says, if he wanted to leave, why did he even arrive?
آن مرد آمد آن مرد رفت شما که اول گفتین آن مرد آمد خیلی خوب حالا میگیم رفت اگه میخواست بره چرا اصلا آمد
yeah. If he wants to leave, why did he come?
Why did he even come? To me, that was the funny.
Yeah. Okay, great.
That was a good one.
Mine is, as I mentioned before, he's trying to help the crook because he's a little bit afraid of him. And he's like, I won't tell them where you are. And the cops show up and he's like, there's nobody hiding in that tube. Nobody's hiding in that tube. Don't look over here. There's no one hiding in that tube.
آی سرکار استواره هیچ که توی سولاخه قایم نشده و هیچ که قایم نشده یا خیال نکنی یه نفر رفته توی سولاخ قایم شده برو هیچ که قایم نشده برو.
And he's genuinely trying to help him. I laughed for a split second.
That was good. Mine is also a dictation scene, and it's a little bit of like an Abbott and Costello exchange where they're like, all the kids are being like loud and whispering and stuff in the middle of the dictation. And then there's like the principal, the VP, the teacher, and for some reason, Sakar Ostavar is there too, like the police chief. They're like enforcing silence as all the students are writing the dictation. And then one of them goes, everyone write silently. And then the next person goes, we didn't learn the word silently yet. And then they're like, no, write silently. Don't write silently. So should we write silently or not? Everybody shut up and write silently. Don't write silently. Wait, silently write your dictation. Don't write the word silently.
ساکت ساکت
ساکت. آقا ساکت ما نخوندیم تو کتابمون نیست.
گفتم ساکت بنویس نه اینکه ساکتو بنویس. بالاخره بنویسیم یا ننویسیم؟ هر کی حرف بزنه میندازمش بیرون ساکت بنویسی. ساکت ننویسینا. ساکت بنویسین یعنی خودتون ساکت باشین نه اینکه ساکتو بنویسین.
Like it's just like a back and forth.
I love
on it.
that one. I
was like,
forgot
those are
it.
great.
Why did I forget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. That's awesome. Favorite performance?
Mine is the skinny druggie. What's his name? Moshid?
Oh,
Moshid?
dude.
What's his name?
I think
What's
so,
his
but
name?
they call them Chortali.
I think they were like teasing him when they called him that.
Yeah. Everyone
yeah.
has a Ali something
Yeah.
nickname.
But he's like constantly high and joking, and then once in a while he'll like dance, and he does this like weird like poppy like Kramer-esque like dance where he does like Persian snapping. It's kind of like whose dance is it from Seinfeld? Is it Kramer's dance? Elaine's dance? Yeah, it's like popping and locking while he's like doing the Bishkan. So funny. That guy's my favorite.
I think that's a typical druggie dance.
Is he that's the guy who's sleeping the whole time too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well he's high on opium.
Yeah, the hippie looking guy. What do you know the character's name? The actor's name?
I don't know the actor's name, but I think his character's name, I couldn't tell. It was either Moshid or Moshit or something. I don't know. It's like hard to tell because the sound quality is so garbled.
Yeah. I did get Chortali though from the because he's always chorting, which means napping.
Yeah.
But Chortali isn't his real name. It's like how once in a while people call Huchali Kuchulu. Kuchulu is definitely not his name. Borabeshin Kuchulu.
Navid Agha Navid.
Junam.
What's your favorite performance actor in the movie?
Favorite performance? I think like I find Samad being like the only strong Samad Agha being the only like very strong performance that's not over the top or trying too hard, or it seems natural. You know what I mean? His performance, but a lot of the other people is just weird, like Ainullah.
Baqarzadeh.
Ainullah Baqarzadeh. It seems a little weird the way he does it. It doesn't seem genuine. My favorite performance is Samad. I'm gonna keep it simple. Samad Agha.
Mine was actually Jahangir's Furuhar's character. He played the big mob boss, the eye patch character.
Yeah.
The second he played the first role, it's like two guys are playing chess and he shows up and he's like, do you know what was in those suitcases? And he's like, got this kind of slow building monologue. I'm like, whoa, this guy's like leaping off the screen with charisma.
Yeah.
And then the next scene, he's talking to the guy that escaped. And the guy's trying to explain to him like how he managed to lose the suitcase. And he's just blowing smoke right into his face from an inch away. And I was like, dude, this character is cool, man. Like, I want to see way more of this guy, like, planning the heist or whatever. And then he escapes in a helicopter. And, like, I just Googled, you're right. He is Layla Furuhar's father.
Yeah.
Which was she's the girl also in the young girl in...
Sultana Galba.
Yeah, she's the little girl in that, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. Festival of Cons. Okay, Farhan, take it away.
I have, like, nothing. All I have is that the plot with the bad guys should have been tied in better with the stuff at the school. Because the highlight for me was all the jokes and the time you spend with the villagers. Like the overall story was like needed an overhaul. The characters and the humor I thought were great. Alfred, what about you?
I think the film's editing could have been polished in some of the scenes. There were a few cuts that didn't seem to make sense and it seemed choppy. The subtitles in the film were lacking in that they were literally not existent. The film quality, I feel at times the sound quality was pretty bad and could have been a bit better. I think the script structurally needed a lot of work. The two stories didn't clash that well. Fine, I'm trying to see if you're noticing that I'm imitating you.
I didn't notice.
No.
Is that what I sound like?
Farn was reading something during that. So
I was reading something.
So I was doing a whole thing. And
I'm going over my notes and making sure I didn't miss anything.
Anyways, all seriousness. I just think that the film was a missed opportunity to actually be a satire about something about the education system. Even if it was improving, it wasn't perfect, and neither was the Shah's reign over Iran. So take an opportunity to talk. I don't know, be like a hero for like small town communities and figure out something. And the stories really didn't mesh, in my opinion. And I don't know why, Farn, but like I preferred the first film more. From all around, top down.
Probably because the first one had a story that tied together better.
Just something more interesting. You know what I felt this film actually really lacked? I think the supporting cast around this character wasn't as good as the supporting cast in the first one. Not just cast, but characters. Like, I think there was a lot of like missed opportunity to make other characters larger than life too. The principal could have been larger than life instead of a guy who's just constantly being annoyed by him.
Yeah, I found the principal and the VP were a little too similar.
Make like the other students. You have the sleepy hippie who's always on drugs and the guy who's obsessed with the jacket. That's good. Make more of them. Make it like City of Mice. Like just like have like each different type character to have something to contribute. And it just kind of seemed like it was lacking a support system for like casting characters. And yeah. And then I direct your attention to everything else I complained about with this one.
Tell us how you really feel, bro. Jesus.
Yeah, seriously.
Did you like anything?
All right, what about you, Navid? Any cons to battle the pros?
No, I agree with Farn in terms of liking everything that happens with the characters and the town itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole crime thing, it feels a little forced at some points.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they brought the mob boss in earlier so the audience would see him and maybe build some sort of a relationship between him and everyone else, we would be more into it.
Right.
But they brought him in really late. So
that's the other thing. I marked it when they first actually started talking about their plans. I think it happens around 45 minutes into the movie.
Wow.
I feel like if you cut this hour and 40-minute movie into like a tight 24-minute episode, it would be like a good pilot for a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because I feel like there's enough here to have like a solid 24-minute pilot of a show or 22-minute pilot of a show. And then each episode is about like something funny that happens in the class or in the school. Do you know what I mean?
The editing also, sometimes it did, like jumped for like weird reasons. The one where the teacher is in the tree all of a sudden, right? They were talking about how they don't have a teacher anymore. And it cuts to they have a teacher. I was like,
oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
What just happened?
Yeah.
Like, is this a flashback? Wait, no. Is it like, did they all of a sudden get a teacher? No, it's the same teacher that ran away. And I don't know, man. It was weird.
I wouldn't be surprised if part of that is that French influence, because Night of the Hunchback does that too. And so does Downpour, where you have these like hard cuts. And sometimes I think they're supposed to be done for like comedic effect.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like Truffaut and Godard, like both of their movies did that a lot. Like where they would like all of a sudden have these like hard cuts or jump cuts in the middle of a scene.
Yeah, the Truffaut and Godard influence on the Sayyad films are very noticeable. Right, jump off the page.
I don't know if you're being sarcastic or serious.
We'll leave that for the audience to...
It's good that we can see you and not just hear you, because your face says it all. Just
double feature lineup. When we pair this film up with, if we were going to do this with another film, what would we do? I will go with Ernest Goes to School, because now watching this film as a second Sayyad film, I am for sure that Ernest is almost like, might be ripping off Sayyad. The Ernest goes to jail, Ernest scared stupid, Ernest goes to school. Do you know Ernest, Navid?
No,
Navid?
man. What is this?
Okay,
Who's
so
Ernest?
because you're too young. In like the 90s, early 90s, there was a series of movies starring
Jim something, right?
Jim Varney. Jim Varney, is it? Jim Varney?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it started as a bunch of like after school specials of like, it were like not even specials. It was like little 5-minute shorts that would play for kids where this guy named Ernest, who's like a country bumpkin, is talking to the camera, talking to a guy named Vern about, hey, Vern, I got this thing I learned of the thing. And it's just like, he really like lovable kind of dimwit. And it was so popular, they had made a movie of it. And they made, I think, like 6 or 8 movies of Ernest. It always starts with Ernest goes to something. Ernest goes to jail. Ernest goes to school.
Bro, he's even got a vest and a hat.
That's right. Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, man. I wonder. I mean, I don't think it'd be likely that the creators, who are Jim Varney and Coke Sam's, was the name of the other guy.
Like Coke Sam's.
It's like, did they know? Or is it just because it's very much like even the fact that Samad's name is the top of every film and this is Ernest, it's really interesting. Ernest Goes to School was literally specific an episode. In that, though, he takes a formula to become a genius temporarily. He's the janitor of the school. So that's mine. I used to love the Ernest movies. I strongly recommend watching Ernest Scared Stupid as a Halloween movie. It's very well done, like really cool troll monsters, like visual effects, puppets and stuff. So that's my suggestion. I'd love to pair this movie up with Ernest Goes to School.
Solid.
Farhan, Navid, Farhan.
Wait, which one?
Oh, Farhan.
Farhan, you first, then
Okay.
me, then you again.
I don't know which Truffaut or Godard film I should pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Billy Madison.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
Like, it's more or less the same concept as, like, Ernest Goes to School. Billy Madison, played by Adam Sandler, is this, like, really dumb, drunk, like, college dropout. Or I guess he's, like, school dropout. He never even finished elementary school. He's the son of this, like, rich guy. And he gets forced to go back to school and work his way up and finish elementary school, then high school. And just like some of the antics that he gets into in the school are pretty similar. So yeah, I think it'd be a good comp.
Yeah, that's a good comp. But I would go with Mission Impossible.
For the music?
The music got me, and I was like, I don't want to watch Mission Impossible again. So I did watch Mission Impossible again. No, I didn't watch Mission Impossible, but yeah, I would go with Mission Impossible because the hella action in Samad, the
Yeah.
helicopter scene. So it's a lot of them jumping out the windows of the school
Yeah.
when they want to leave, not using doors, just like Tom Cruise, jumping out of windows and things like that. So I see a lot of similarities between those films. Especially the soundtrack.
I'm curious what the like safety discussions were like around the helicopter scene.
I thought about that.
Because there's a scene with like the helicopter's running and there's just like 50 actors and it's all the actual actors. They're not like extras climbing on top of this helicopter, like holding it down.
Zero safety.
So dangerous.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Zero safety is correct.
Very dangerous.
Can this be a modern Hollywood remake? Navid.
Yes.
I think
I'm
it's
saying yes
done
because I
deal
want
if
to be
you're
in it.
You know what? Honestly,
So
I
I'm
think you
just
should
gonna-
make you should
Amen.
sneak in a few, like do Son of Samad as a sketch. Wear the hat. Where you don't have to imitate him, but like see who catches on if you wear the vest and the hat for a sketch for like playing a dumb character,
Yeah.
and see if like any one of your like fans like notice that you're doing a Samad, Son of Samad.
Yeah.
Side by side. But like, I don't know, man. That could be like that could generate interest. Our podcast, our first episode shows a lot of people listen to it. They were nostalgic for that shit. I agree. I think modern version would be just the thing to give this franchise that is officially dead new life. I mean, there's like I mentioned earlier. There's here's a list of some movies they've done. They did the Three Stooges. They did Lassie. They remade these all into movies. The Flintstones live action movie. Addams Family was a black and white TV show before they made like 3 films and 2 animated
Oh
films.
yeah.
Bewitched.
And then the Wednesday show too.
Bewitched was a show from the 60s that they turned into a movie with Will Ferrell and Nicole Kidman. It's not good.
Wasn't Sabrina a show in the 60s?
Sabrina was
before
a
they
movie.
remade it?
The Billy Wilder film? Or Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
Maybe. Yeah.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch was it was a comic book from the Archie Comics people. I don't think they made it.
Oh, right. And then it was the series
Yeah.
and then the new
Charlie's
series.
Angels TV show made into a movie. Shaft, which was a TV show
Yeah.
and a series of movies made into a movie.
Yep.
Mission Impossible. Yeah.
Mission
So I feel like
Impossible.
Samad could get its own Persian upgrade, new cast, new actor, Son of Samad. You can make it a legacy sequel. Those are the things they do all the time. With The Force Awakens is a legacy sequel where you're rebooting the franchise but still making the same continuity. Do it. And Parviz Sayyad is thankfully still alive, so we could have him as a cameo
Yeah.
in Elderly Samad.
Yeah.
Do the finger one last time.
Get Payam in there too.
Yeah.
Payam loves these.
That's done.
That would be dope.
Behtosh should probably do it. Behtosh loves these Saman movies
See, that's
too.
the thing. Sometimes I think about all these like billionaires who have decided to waste their lives supporting some of the most evil men on earth.
Hell yeah.
If I was a billionaire with a B, I would, at a drop of a hat, be like, here's a couple million. I want to see this movie. I'm going to make it. Like, I would just do this stuff with my time and money.
Well, that's why Rings of Power got made.
Yeah, it was, Bezos was a Lord of the Rings fan.
Bezos was like, here's money, go make this.
Farn, can this be a modern Hollywood remake?
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you guys. Pretty much everything you guys said, I fully agree.
Excellent. Final thoughts and grades. I'll go first and then I'll wrap things up. I give this a C minus. I went back to listen to the Samad episode.
Wow.
I gave the last Samad movie a C, I think, or a C plus. And I can't give this one a higher mark than
You gave it a C, yeah.
I can't give this one a higher grade because I genuinely like the other movie more than I like this one.
Oh my God.
So, you know what? I gave that one a C. I'll give this one a C minus, which in the relation of things is still very quite low. But I just found this one a hard. Like, I will give one more Samad Shot movie a go. The Bruce Lee one sounds objectively funny. But I mean, honestly, I'll say another thing too. The quality of versions of this movie we're watching does not help the case for watching this for the first time.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that.
It really hurts my enjoyment of the film, and I think this is entirely fueled by, on your end, by nostalgia. I know you guys love a lot of what it is, but I think like going into this as an Iranian born in Canada. I know you were born in Canada too far, but like who my parents didn't watch. My mom loves Iranian films, and she didn't watch Samad movies that much. She actually watched a lot of foreign movies outside of Iran. And so it wasn't in our household. It wasn't a thing that was part of me growing up. And I really would love like a nice clean print of this would probably make me enjoy these movies more. But for a first time viewer, it's a slog. It's tough.
Yeah, think of like Stranger in the Fog, the version that
unwatchable
you can like find online versus the version that we saw.
Yeah.
Like if you saw that version online, I would have been like, this looks like garbage. There's no way the cinematography in this is actually any good. And then you watch it in the theater and we were like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Or like The Deer, same thing. Remember the original version of The Deer that we found?
Totally. Again, unwatchable.
Yeah.
So that's C minus is my official grade. Why don't you go Navid and when with Farn?
I'll go with a B.
Nice.
I would grade it a B.
And any reason why B versus A and C? Why did you land on B?
Because B is between A and C. And I think that's where
somebody doesn't need to go to illiteracy school. You know your direction of letters. Great. It's a B. Okay, good. Farhan, June Farhan.
My final thoughts. I thought that this one was funnier. The character archetypes were a little more defined. The world was more enjoyable this time.
It's just the opposite.
I thought
it's like literally. The opposite.
I know.
Totally. Wow.
The pacing I thought was better in this. But I think that the storyline with the antagonist does not tie in very well at all. And it's something that I think the Bruce Lee one does a lot better. Overall, I give this movie a B+, which means that the Cinema Rex average score for Samad Goes to School is B-.
Farhan, here's what I'm going to do for you. And I want Cinema Rex listeners to also help Farhan on this quest. In the not too distant future, but hopefully more distant than soon, we will do one more Samad episode. Farhan, it is your duty. You have a project here, okay? You have a goal. It has to be, don't just go with the Bruce Lee one. It's because you're fair. Do your research. Ask everyone who's been a Samad fan. Be like, I have one Samad movie to convince Kaveh. Find the best one, unanimous. Have the Cinema Rex listeners message you or like have a discussion. Do your research. Find one ring to rule them all that can convert me over to a fan. Because again, I thought the first one was quite like, I didn't love it, but I thought it was like enjoyable and watchable, and I really found it enjoyable. This one, for some reason, I don't know, was a step backwards for me. So
that's wild.
Can you take on that quest? That is your goal in 20 episodes from now. Find the best, universally best one.
Sure, listeners, DM me your top 3 Samad movies and list them from best to from like favorite, second favorite, third favorite.
Yeah.
I will say the challenge with this Kaveh is that I don't know anyone who's seen every single Samad movie.
Right. Well,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
I'll ask my mom.
Has your mom seen all of them?
Yeah.
Ask her about that ogre one. I've never even heard of that one.
Yeah, I'll ask her.
So that's your homework. Make sure it's a good one because it will be our last one.
All right.
Samad, the streetwise yet endearingly simple character, was a masterful creation designed to dismantle classism and expose the social divides that once defined Iran, and all through sharp-witted humor and insightful satire. Parviz Sayyad's remarkable legacy in Iranian comedy is undeniable, and his contributions as an actor, writer, director, and producer remain a cornerstone of the genre. He gave us a glimpse into a side of Iran that is seldom explored, one filled with heart, humor, and cultural critique. To Parviz Sayyad and his unforgettable Samad, who continues to live in our hearts, we offer our deepest gratitude and admiration, some films faring better than others, but you can't deny the impact he's had on Iranian comedy, right? Navid, Agha, Navid, Agha?
Yes, sir. Everything you just said is good.
Agha, Navid, Agha, Navid, Agha.
Juna.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Cinema Rex podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, Navid.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I know I'm not the best at talking.
But the looks make up for it.
No,
so
seriously.
We're getting a treat right now. Just
Yeah.
watching.
Respect.
Oh, handsome.
Hey.
Far on June. Thank you for everything. You know how I feel about you.
Thank you, Kaveh. Unfortunately.
To all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Be omid didar.
Hi. Oh, remember to like, comment, subscribe. All the things. Music for Cinema Rex was written and performed by Sohail Sadinejad.